Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are opening up the hood and looking at the engine.
An engine.
And by the engine, I mean that 3-pound lump of, gray matter sitting between your ears.
The hardware, the thing that runs the whole show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're tackling a topic that feels universal because, well, everyone has a brain. And
Mhm.
everyone's tried to learn something new and felt that frustration when it just doesn't stick. Whether you're trying to learn a language, pick up the guitar, or just, stop being bad with names.
It is a fascinating area. For a long time, the prevailing wisdom, even in the scientific community, was that the adult brain was, fixed.
Right.
The old saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Yeah.
But the source material we're looking at today, along with a massive body of modern neuroscience, says that's just fundamentally wrong.
The old dog can absolutely learn new tricks.
It can't.
It just takes a specific kind of training. So here's the setup for today. We're doing a deep dive into a concept called neural pathways to fluency. Our main source is a really interesting audio piece. It's titled Rewire Your Brain in English.
Right.
Now, I have to be honest with you. When I first saw that title, my clickbait alarm went off.
It does sound a bit like a magic pill, doesn't it? Just rewired and you're done.
Right. I was expecting 10 hacks to fluent English in 24 hours.
Yeah.
Some listicle about the top 10 verbs you need to survive.
Yeah.
But this source is totally different. It's not a list of grammar rules. It functions almost like a monologue from a mentor.
Oh, interesting.
It's a calm psychological guide that focuses entirely on mindset and biological habits, rather than, say, the difference between the past simple and the present perfect.
Which is refreshing. And honestly, it's necessary. The mission here is pretty bold. This source argues that we need to dismantle the myth that you're just bad at English or bad at languages. It posits that what we call talent is often just a result of specific neural training.
And that is the hook for today. We want to unpack the science behind why you freeze up when you try to speak and how to physically change the structure of your brain to stop that from happening. Because it turns out confidence isn't a personality trait, it's a biological structure.
That's a powerful way to frame it. It's moving from the idea of learning a language, like you learn history dates,
Right?
to building a language in your mind, like a muscle.
So let's start with the pain point. Because the source material doesn't sugarcoat this at all. It paints a very vivid picture of the learner's paralysis. You know that feeling. You're in a conversation, someone asks you a question, and your mind just goes blank.
The deer in the headlights moment.
Exactly. You know the words, you studied them, but in that moment, nothing comes out.
And
then 5 hours later, you're in the shower and suddenly, boom, you think of the perfect sentence.
Yeah.
Why does that happen? Why does the brain betray us in the moment we need it most?
the source digs right into this, and it's really about the biology of stress. It describes a scenario where the learner is just trapped in a cycle of negative self-talk.
Okay.
It's not that you don't know the words are in there,
Eh.
but the pathway to access them is blocked by fear.
It's what linguists call the affective filter, right? I remember reading about this.
Essentially, yes, but let's look at the chemistry. When you're stressed or afraid of making a mistake, which is super common in language learning, your brain releases cortisol.
Cortisol.
Cortisol is a stress hormone. When those levels spike, it literally inhibits the brain's processing power, specifically in the hippocampus, which is involved in memory retrieval.
So wait, hang on. When I feel like my brain has just shut down because I'm nervous, that's not just a feeling, it has biologically shut down.
Correct. It shuts down the creative, flexible parts of your brain, the parts you need for speech generation, and pushes you into fight or flight.
Wow.
Your brain thinks the English conversation is a tiger attacking you. It prioritizes survival over grammar.
That explains so much. The source addresses this by kind of holding up a mirror. It says, I know you are worried about making mistakes. It acknowledges that the barrier isn't usually vocabulary. The barrier is the belief that you are bad at English. It's a psychological wall, not a linguistic one.
And that belief,
right.
It just feeds the cortisol. If you tell yourself, I'm bad at this, you increase the stress, which increases the cortisol,
Which blocks the memory.
which makes you fail, which then confirms your belief that you're bad at it. It's a feedback loop.
So we have to break the loop. The source argues that how you feel about what you say is just as important as the accuracy of what you say.
Yes.
And this is a distinction I want to drill into. Accuracy versus fluency.
They are completely different cognitive processes. You can speak a sentence with perfect grammar, high accuracy, but if you do it with terror, hesitation, and a shaking voice,
You want fluent.
you are not fluent.
Right. You're just accurate and terrified.
Exactly. Fluency is about flow, and flow requires low friction. If you're constantly monitoring yourself, thinking, don't mess up, don't look stupid, you are creating massive cognitive friction.
Your brain is fighting itself.
It is. It takes a bandwidth that should be used for, finding words.
Okay, so we have a brain that's fighting itself. It's flooded with cortisol. The source offers a solution, and this is where the title comes in. Rewire. Now, I want to push back on this a little bit. Rewire your brain is a buzzword we hear a lot in self-help.
For sure.
Is there actual science here, or is it just a nice metaphor for study more?
It is a metaphor, but it's one that's based on hard biology. This brings us to the concept of neuroplasticity.
Walk us through that. What is actually happening in the gray matter?
Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections. To understand this, I love the analogy the source hints at. Think of your brain like a dense, overgrown forest.
Okay, I'm picturing a forest. Lots of trees, vines, bushes.
Right. Now, if you want to get from point A thought in your head, to point B, speaking that thought in English, you have to walk through that forest.
Right.
The first time you do it, there's no path. You have to hack through vines, climb over logs, push through brush. It's slow, it's hard, and it takes a huge amount of energy.
Yeah.
That is what it feels like to speak a new language for the first time.
It's exhausting. You feel physically tired after trying to speak a new language for just 10 minutes.
Exactly. But if you walk that exact same route again the next day, the vines are cut back a bit. The grass is a little trampled.
Okay.
If you walk it 10 times, the dirt starts to show. If you walk it 1,000 times, it becomes a paved highway. You don't even have to look at your feet. You just go.
And that paving process, biologically speaking, I mean, what is that? What's actually happening?
It's a process called myelination. This is the technical part. When a neural pathway is used repeatedly, the brain wraps those nerve fibers in a white fatty substance called myelin.
Myelin.
Think of myelin like the rubber insulation on an electrical wire.
Okay.
If a wire has no insulation, the signal leaks. It's weak and slow. If you wrap it in insulation, the signal travels incredibly fast and efficiently without losing strength.
So fluency is basically a well-insulated wire.
That's a perfect way to put it. Rewiring means physically building that insulation through repetition.
Ah.
The source is very clear on this mechanism. It says the brain learns again and again. It's not magic. It's the mechanics of repetition stimulating the production of myelin.
This is why I think we get so frustrated with language learning in school. We treat it like we're downloading a file.
Yes.
Okay, I read the chapter on the past tense. I understand the rules. I should know it now.
Right?
But reading the map isn't the same as walking the path.
Precisely. And this is a critical shift the source wants us to make. In neuroscience, we distinguish between declarative memory and procedural memory.
Break those down for us.
Declarative memory is knowing facts. Paris is the capital of France. The square root of 9 is 3. You can learn these by reading a book once or twice.
Okay, facts. Got it.
Procedural memory is knowing how to do something.
Like an action.
An action. Riding a bike, tying your shoes, driving a car, or speaking a language.
Ah, I see where you're going with this.
Most people study English like it's a list of facts declarative. But speaking is a motor skill procedural. You can't learn to ride a bike by reading a physics textbook about balance and velocity.
No.
You can memorize every page of that book, but the moment you get on the bike, you're going to fall over.
Because you haven't myelinated the pathway for balance yet.
Exactly. You have to wobble. The wobble is part of the process.
I love that comparison. You have to wobble. And the source actually uses some specific vocabulary to reinforce this shift from studying to training, doesn't it?
It does. It avoids complex linguistic jargon. You won't hear subjunctive mood or fricative sounds.
Okay.
Instead, the source focuses on words like brain, habit, repeat, improve, focus, grow.
Those sound like gym words.
They are, and that's the point. The source is reframing the entire activity. You aren't studying for a test where you get a grade. You are going to the gym for your brain.
That changes the stakes completely. If I take a test and get a C, I failed. I feel bad. But if I go to the gym and I can only lift the heavy weight once, I didn't fail. I just hit my limit for the day.
Right. It removes the moral judgment. A mistake isn't a character flaw. It's just a rep where your form was a little off. Let's do another rep.
So we know we need to pave the highway through repetition to build that myelin. But repetition can sound incredibly boring. It sounds like drilling flashcards until your eyes bleed.
Yeah.
What's the actual strategy the source suggests? Because if the advice is spend 4 hours a day drilling, let's be honest, no one listening is going to do it.
Faithfully, it's not that at all.
Oh, good.
Yeah. The source advocates for small daily habits. It aligns perfectly with the philosophy you see in books like Atomic Habits. It explicitly warns against the crash course mentality.
Mm-hmm.
You know, trying to cram fluency into a weekend or a 2-week intensive.
Which never works, but we always try it because we're impatient.
It never works because of how the brain consolidates memory. You need sleep cycles to lock that myelin in place. You can't force the biological growth of the brain overnight any more than you can force a muscle to grow by lifting weights for 24 hours straight. You just get injured.
So the source suggests short, focused sessions.
Yes. Uses simple cause and effect logic. Listening and speaking daily causes the rewiring. It's an input-output equation.
There was one piece of advice in the source that I found deceptively simple.
Oh, yeah.
It said, put on your headphones, relax, and listen carefully. It almost sounds passive. Like, can I just sleep with the tape on? Can I have it playing while I vacuum?
No, and that's a common misconception. The key word there isn't listen.
It's carefully.
It's carefully. It's about focus.
Why is focus so important?
Well, neuroplasticity is triggered by attention. If you have the audio playing in the background while you do the dishes, and you aren't paying attention, your brain just treats it as noise.
Yeah.
It filters it out. You aren't building pathways.
Okay.
But if you sit down, close your eyes, and actively try to understand the sounds, even for just 10 minutes, that intense focus signals the brain, hey, this date is important, keep it. Insulate this wire.
So it's active relaxation. You're physically relaxed, but mentally you're dialed in.
Right. And this leads to the source's biggest promise, confidence.
Yes.
Everyone wants to feel confident speaking, but we usually think confidence is something you're born with. You look at that guy at the party holding court, telling jokes in his second language, and you think, he's just got the gene. He's a natural.
The gift of gab.
The source says, no, confidence doesn't come from talent. It comes from training.
I want to pause on that. Confidence is a result of training.
Think about driving a car again. The first time you drove, were you confident?
God, no. I was terrifying. I was gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles were white. I thought I was going to hit everything.
Exactly. You had zero confidence because you had zero competence.
Oh.
Your neural pathways for driving were non-existent.
Right.
But now, you drive to work, you drink coffee, you listen to us. You don't even remember the trip.
Yeah.
You are confident because you have thousands of hours of reps. The source is saying English is exactly the same. You feel insecure because you were untrained, not because you were stupid.
That is incredibly liberating. It really takes the ego out of it. I'm not broken. I'm just untrained.
And untrained is a temporary state. Bad at English feels like a permanent identity.
Yeah.
That shift in language is everything.
Let's pivot to the vibe of the source material for a minute.
Okay.
We mentioned earlier it's not a textbook. The description says the language used in the audio guide itself is slow, simple, and clear. Now, in a world where everyone says you have to watch movies, you have to listen to fast native speakers, immersion, why is this source slowing it down?
There is a school of thought that says, throw them in the deep end. Total immersion. And that has its place, eventually.
Yeah.
But remember what we said about cortisol earlier?
Stress blocks learning.
Right. If you throw someone in the deep end and they don't know how to swim, they don't learn strokes, they panic, they drown, their brain floods with cortisol, and they retain nothing.
So this source is the shallow end of the pool.
It's the swimming lesson. The source adopts the persona of a calm mentor, specifically to lower that anxiety. It's functional calmness.
Functional calmness. I like that.
By keeping the tone calm and the language simple, it keeps the learner out of fight or flight mode. It keeps the brain in a receptive state. It allows you to actually hear the sounds and patterns without your brain screaming, I don't understand, panic, abort.
It's almost like a guided meditation for language learners.
It really is. It recognizes that the state of mind you are in when you engage with the language is just as critical as the language itself. If you associate English with feeling stupid and stressed, your brain will actively avoid it. Yeah. It's a survival mechanism.
Right.
Your brain says, last time we did English, we felt terrible. Let's not do that again.
That is a huge insight. We usually try to force feed our brains information, but if the brain associates that information with pain, it's going to spit it out.
Exactly. The source uses gentle, future-focused language. It's not obsessing over past failures.
Okay.
It's about patience and belief.
Yeah.
It's telling the listener, this is a long game. Relax. We're just walking the path.
Walking the path. I really like that visual. It makes the whole process feel manageable. You don't have to teleport to the destination. You just have to take the next step.
And eventually the grass gets flattened. The path appears.
So if we zoom out, what does this mean for the listener right now? We've gone from the bad at English myth through the biology of myelination and rewiring to the strategy of calm, focused repetition.
It means you have much more agency than you think. That's the bottom line. The source is empowering the listener to take ownership of their own gray matter. You aren't a victim of your lack of talent.
Right.
You are the architect of your own neural pathways.
You are the architect. And the tools are simple: headphones, focus, repetition, and patience.
And specifically, daily patience. The source emphasizes that one small change in thinking, shifting from testing to training, can create a massive compound effect over time.
It's really a message of hope. It doesn't matter if you failed high school Spanish.
No.
It doesn't matter if you've been stuck at an intermediate plateau for 10 years. Neuroplasticity doesn't stop just because you hit 30 or 40 or 50.
The brain is always ready to be rewired. It's waiting for the input. You just have to provide it.
Again and again.
Again and again.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with the final takeaway from our source. It's that promise. One small change in your thinking can create a big change in your life and in your English. It's not about memorizing the dictionary. It's about changing how you view the process.
And recognizing that every time you listen, every time you speak, you are physically changing your brain structure. You are building the highway.
Absolutely. And here's where it gets really interesting for you to think about after you take off your headphones today. We've established that language fluency is just a habit. It's just a result of training the brain.
Right.
So my question is this. If being good at English is just a habit we build, what other identities are you holding on to that are actually just habits waiting to be rewired?
That's a provocative thought.
Are you really bad at math? Are you really not a morning person? Are you really disorganized? Or have you just not walked those paths enough times to flatten the grass?
How many of our limitations are just neural pathways we haven't bothered to build yet?
Exactly. Maybe we're all just one habit away from being a completely different person. Something to chew on. Thanks for diving in with us today.
Pleasure as always. Keep training that brain.
See you next time.